Good afternoon. Like I promised, to say I was going to do a video via Zoom for that job analysis and job design lecture that we have in the morning. That is today, 1st of May, 2020. So apparently, before the class could end, and we had only covered about 6 slides, 7, and the class had to be cut short because of internet challenges. So apparently, I would run through really fast the initial slides and then go in detail so that you can complete as fast as possible. I would advise you the minute that I'll be writing, okay, like the job analysis, the minute that you hear the topic, what you can do is make sure you have the slides with you, either on the side in whichever way that you can, so that even as either on the side of the screen or in hard copy, whichever means that you can access them, or maybe using a different gadget altogether. As you're watching, you could be using your laptop, or you could probably be using um, your phone. So make sure you have a provision, maybe a tablet, an iPad, whatever means that you can, so that you can follow me through. Either hard copy, whichever means. Just make sure, as I'm going through the slides via Zoom, it's a bit different from the lecture, lecture slides that the lecture videos, sorry, that I make, because those ones have the slides side by side by the video and the voice. So I would advise that so that you are able to follow through, and then after the videos, if you have any questions, you can actually forward them to. You can let me know the questions, and then I can tackle them and even actually answer them. Either I can answer them even in the next lecture, or I can actually forward them. But it would be beneficial if others could also be privy of the questions so that they can learn one or two things. So we'll see how we proceed as things go. So we'll look at the job analysis and job design. So okay, so we look at this. Let me get to the slides. Okay, we looked at the learning objectives, which I'll skip because we already looked at that in the previous in the morning lecture. So we'll skip the learning objectives, and then we'll come to the introduction. What is job analysis? We looked at job analysis to say it's a process of discerning and reporting patent information relating to the nature of a specific job. So job analysis basically has to do with the process of collecting, analyzing per se, even though I'm borrowing the same the same wording, but it's more like a breakdown, setting out information about jobs in order for them to provide the basis for a job description, or even data for recruitment, training, like we mentioned. I think we tabulate that in the later slides. Sorry. So actually, the uses come in as part of the reason why job analysis takes place. We look at that in later slides, and then job analysis in a way has to do with what job holders achieve and attain, what what particular activity do they engage in, what tasks are they given in a particular job placement. That is what job analysis has to us, brings out. And then it also identifies the tasks that the job holder is supposed to undertake, and the outcome and the outputs that are supposed to come with the actual job placement that we're talking about. So that's a brief description of job analysis. And then job design, on the other hand, is the process of structuring work or breaking down. Look at job design in the context of a designer, say a dress designer or a fashion designer, sorry, for lack of a better term. So you find a person who designs, most of the time sketches down something, writes it down, structures it, like makes a plan, as in puts components together to come up with a particular shape or to come up with a particular structure. So it's structured in work that's designed, and then designating the specific work activities to an individual or group of individuals to achieve a certain organization objective or objectives. So per se, a particular person is assigned, say, if a person is has a bachelor's degree, say, in education, and they majored in history and probably religious education or civic education, you find if a person is now applying for a job in an education sector, they're supposed to be assigned in the particular department where they're supposed to deliver according to that specification, the what's this qualification specification. So in a way, that's a brief example I can give about the actual placement. So you find again, if it has to do with individuals, you find that different, there are actually different departments where you find one department comprises, say, if you look at social sciences, it comprises of courses that fall in the realm of social science courses or subjects. So you look at probably English, you look at local languages, you look at other components of social sciences. If you're looking at a high level, like say university level, you find that arena actually also comes with its own set of what's this jurisdiction. So that's what I intended to mean. We'll look at job design in much better detail in the next lecture, actually, in the following lecture after this one. Sorry, let me just confirm on that one. So another aspect of sorry, let me bring it back slightly. Okay, no, it's okay. Okay, so I can, in a way, I'll go back to job analysis to break it down for you to understand in a more detailed, to understand the definition in a more detailed area. I've drawn up something. Let me just check if you can see this. Okay, so from the title itself, okay, it's supposed to be, no? I'm not sure. Okay, is it physical or does it need to be, let's see. Okay, so now if you look at this in greater detail, we have, I hope it's visible from this thing. I'm not from, I think it's a bit different. Okay, you can write down if you're not able to see from the paper clearly. But then here's the thing. I'll try to review and see if it's visible. If it's not, but I'll try to see how I can press them know that you can see. So here we come up with actually three key components on how a job analysis produces information concerning a particular job. So it actually gives information concerning an overall purpose of the organization, that is the objective, meaning the overall objective of an organization will actually be brought out in terms of the information that is sought out for in a job analysis aspect. And then the other aspect is, that is the objectives, the aim, and everything that has to do with the organization. I'll actually explain this in greater detail as we go to the other slides. And then we come to organization itself. The job analysis will actually bring out components of an organization. What is this organization about? What does it offer? What does it what service does it offer? If you're looking at education, you look at what level, and then if you're looking at health, you look at what probably sector, what patients or what specialty or what not, all that. And okay, because I'm saying that because like when you look at the health sector, even let's say let's just focus on say government institutions. You find that there sometimes hospitals that operate in an entirely particular specialized element. Like for example, if you're looking at the cancer disease hospital, that one is specifically allocated to cancer diseases. So that's the kind of specialization I'm talking about. So when you look at the organization too, that's actually break down to say, okay, this is what this organization is about. If it's supposed to produce, to give a service of, say, criminal justice, or supposed to give policing services to the security services to the community, that could be brought up in terms of the job analysis aspect. And then you have the content aspect where you find the actual workings, the actual details are brought forth. We'll break this down further as we go in the next slides, and that will best help you to understand action. Okay, so we're done with that. We put it aside. Now we get to, okay, we already explained on job design. And then now okay, so discuss the nature of job analysis, including what it is and how it is used, which is very cardinal because it will bring out the whole reason why job analysis is important, what factors it brings out, like I was previously explaining, like breaking down the whole content into smaller chunks. And this question will also help us establish job analysis guidelines, and then also the what the information that is derived from job analysis is used for, like we explained in the paper that I've just put aside. And then also it will also briefly explain on how to collect the information for job analysis. So let's get into details. So the basics of job analysis are as follows. The work activities, this we looked at, so I'll just rush through. I won't give detailed explanation. If you need any reference, you can actually go back to the slides that we, the lecture that we had, then go back to the recording that we had this morning. So you do that, then you'll be able to actually understand more, because I'm trying to save up on time so that we concentrate more in greater detail in terms of those aspects that we do not actually go in detail. So basically, there's the aspect of work activities, there's the behaviors, machines, tools, equipment, work aids that are used, and then performance standards, and then job content, and then also human requirements. So job analysis is the procedure through which you determine the activities, the duties of the positions, and the characteristics of the people to hire for them. So it means a particular person is put in a, not everybody, that's why interviews exist, like, because a person's, say, temperament, a person's character is supposed to match with the person. If you're good human resource, a skilled and professional human resource personnel, you ought to be able to place a person in the right position. So everything is about competition. So you find you have one person place, you have to make sure that you recruit the best possible fit for that position, so that work can be performed amicably for the benefit of the organization. So another aspect is that job analysis serves as the cornerstone of all human resource function. So jobs must be analyzed before many of the other human resource functions can be performed. So meaning, like I explained briefly in the introduction, where I said the information collected, the information analyzed in the job analysis trickles down to what's this, to the basis for providing job description, and also providing data for recruitment, for providing data for training, for providing data for job evaluation, even performance appraisals, and also other elements that we're going to dip into as we go down into the lecture. So you find what are the uses of this information that is at play. So the information is used for selection and recruitment, like I mentioned, and also uh, equal employment opportunity compliance. We looked at this the legal, in the legal, we looked at it. Okay, so my battery is going low, so let me just try to plug the power source. So, so the EEU compliance, and then we have performance appraisal, and then we have compensation, training, like I was explaining, and then in terms of explaining in detail, the information collected through a job analysis is used to help all aspects of an effective human resource program. So it means it trickles down to different um, processes and functions of the human resource management. So we look at certain aspects that we've actually given examples to, like for example, in terms of recruitment, the selection of information about what duties the job entails and what characteristics are required to help in the hiring decisions. So when you find you break down the job, when you collect that information that concerns the job, you realize to say you are able to come up with information that will help you in terms of picking the right candidate for a particular position. So it helps in the hiring decision um, uh, aspect. So it's helpful in the recruitment process of the human resource management process. And then job analysis is crucial for validating all major human resource practices, especially when it comes to legal compliance. We looked at this, where you find a person, um, the what's this, the aspect of the overall purpose of an organization will be brought out, the actual information about an organization, in that same information is going to align and be actually demonstrated. The what is the EE, or as in the equal opportunity, the equal employment opportunity, which is the legal binding of versus employment aspect, is able to spell out what is expected of an organization. So this analysis actually brings out that information to fuller detail and is able to break it down so that employees and uh, members of an organization are able to work hand in hand and align with the law. So a job analysis helps compare each employee's actual performance with his or her duties. So it means, let me give you an example. Um, for example, a person is employed as okay, what's a person use? What's a person use? Okay, let me give an example. A person is uh, employed in okay, how can I put it? Let me give okay. Okay, so a person is employed. Okay, let's get the health sector. I think I give an example concerning health. So let's say a person is a nurse or a clinical officer. Okay, let's give an example of a nurse. The job specifications, the job description, the job breakdowns of what daily duties a nurse is expected to perform, depending on the department and also the specialty. If it's a general nurse, there are certain expectations that the job that the person is placed under is expected to deliver. So you find that this person is probably a nurse and they're expected probably to tend to patients like on a very basic level. And then now you find this miss executing the job description of, say, clinical officer or that of a medical doctor, which in itself is wrong because you find that there'll be a lot of mishaps in terms of delivery. You find that this person's qualification does not allow them to probably diagnose illnesses or even specify what medication, prescribe what medication a patient is supposed to take. So in this sense, when a supervisor, is it the nurse, I don't know what is it, the matrons or something, I'm not so sure, but I'm just trying to use information that the general information that I have. So you find that if they're supposed to appraise this person and such misdeeds have been actually reported, the the indication may not be so positive. Even if this person is trying to probably save their life, whatnot, but they're working outside their jurisdiction. If in the event that that action results in the death of that patient, that can have great repercussions for actually the hospital. So that you find that the analysis aspect helps a person know exactly what they're supposed to do, what is expected of them. So it also helps in terms of what to look for in terms of appraisals. Because when a person is given a task and they're expected to perform the task because they're supposed to be right as the equipment aspect actually brings out. There's the aspect of compensation, which often depends on the job required skill and education level, safety hazards, degree of responsibility, and then other factors you can access to job analysis. So these are my some of them. So, and then there's the job description, which is created from a job analysis. So we mentioned to start from the start to say this analysis of the job comes before other functions of the UNICEF analysis program. That's what we mentioned. So this is actually explaining to say the the description to follow from the analysis. So a job description will be built up from the analysis, which we're going to also look into as we go along. Okay, so now we get to the next slide. Okay, so get to the actual happenings now, conducting a job analysis. So these are some of the questions, these are some of the the steps that are followed. How will information be used? And then the background information and representative positions. You have collect and analyze data and then verify job description and specification. So this is what transpires. These are the steps that take place actually. So conducting a job analysis. So conducting a job analysis requires multiple steps. The first step is to decide how you use the information. So before you undertake a job analysis, you have to actually sit down and see what is the use of the information that you intend to get from this analysis. So this is cardinal because this will guide you on what sort of procedure you're going to use in terms of collection and analysis as well, in terms of breaking down what the information that you've been given. Then the second step is the review of the relevant background information. This borders on aspects of organization charts, process charts, job descriptions. So that's step 2. And then step 3 says use select representative positions. So you actually pinpoint what positions are supposed to be put for. And then actually analyze the job, collecting data and then job activities. So now you get to the actual analysis, what you collect the data on the job activities. So you're like, okay, a human resource. Let's give an example of a human resource personnel, which we actually looked at before. We looked at the duties that a human resource manager or human resource professional is supposed to engage in. So, say you're looking for a chief human resource officer in an organization. That is the position that you want to analyze. So you're going to look at the actual activities that this person is going to look to be involved in a day-to-day basis, or what does the job placement actually require this person to do? Look into the welfare of officers. For example, give advice. There could be what personnel has maybe a misunderstanding with the supervisor or even a colleague, supposed to come and sit them down and see how we can resolve the issue. That's why in the previous chapters, when we're looking at um, what's this, when we're looking at the duties of human resource personnel, we actually looked at the characteristics of the human resource personnel, where we actually brought out issues of decisiveness, and then also that aspect of being able to make decisions and be able to get through to people. It doesn't matter how intense the situation is, you have to be sensitive and know how to handle complex matters. So this is where this part comes in, where you actually bring out what is expected of you. You find sometimes welfare has to do with the illness of an officer, illness of an employee, illness of a job holder. So basically, um, you probably have to attend funerals, you have to look into maybe the health of workers, make sure the working conditions are adequate to make sure, okay, do they have everything that is needed. Let's give an example, like in the current, in our current, in the current happenings around the world, like with the coronavirus issue going on. If it's a workplace and you're expected, you're expected to deliver, you're supposed to actually perform. Workers in that organization are required to work. It is the onus of the human resource personnel to ensure that all the health standards are actually adhered to as the government has put forth. You have to make sure there are hand sanitizers. You have to make sure your workforce is equipped with what's this, with face masks. You have to make sure that there's washing equipment at every corner or strategic corners. You have to make sure entry to the building is what's this is what's this is looked into. Like you have to make sure that you're cautious of the people you're bringing in, and then also the amount of people that are coming in. Are they really coming in? It doesn't matter what service you're offering. Like it's not just the health aspect, but maybe um, it could be any other service, like any other public service that you could be looking after. Maybe it could be security, it could be um, uh, criminal justice, it could be justice aspect. So you have to make sure you screen and you put all those measures. You equip these people that are there. It is actually the responsibility of the human resource personnel. So human traits and intellectual abilities needed to perform the job. So it's not just about the aspect of a person being qualified educationally or in terms of experience to be able to meet up to the job. There are also other aspects that come in. That's why we have aspects of on a what's this when a job is advertised for. There's the aspect where skills a person possesses are asked, and then also we have aspects of where the what do you call this aspects of where the person has to bring out their hobbies. The hobbies can really bring out the personality traits of the person. So that is important because different people are able to deliver based on the kind of persona that they have, the kind of temperament that they have. Then the step 5, verify the job analysis information. Verification is very important because you have to make sure you're dealing with facts. You don't have to leave room for any ambiguities in terms of what information is provided for, because this will be a guide for a lot of other activities to come. So you have to make sure you verify. Okay. And then also you verify, so the people to verify this information has to be the supervisor of the actual job being performed, and then this actual person that is occupying this particular position. And then the next step, which is the sixth step, has to do with develop a job description and job specification. Okay, so here are the guidelines. Okay, I think after 2 slides, we try to take a break. Maybe just for 2 minutes so that at least. Okay, so we try to take a break after 2 slides. So for 2 minutes, I'll take a break. So because I'm recording this. Okay, so job. What are the guidelines? It has to be a joint effort, and then there has to be clarity of the questions and the process. And then you also have to make sure you use different job analysis tools which we're going to actually look into. And so here are the guidelines of job analysis. You make the guidelines a joint effort by the human resource manager, the worker, and the workers supervisor. So 3 people involved in this. The human resource personnel, you have 3 people. The human resource personnel, the worker themselves, and the worker supervisor. Okay, so make sure the questions and the process are both clear to the employee. And then finally, use several different job analysis tools, which we're going to look into. Do not rely just on the questionnaire, for instance, but supplement your survey with a short follow-up interview, which is expected. Make sure the questions and the process are both clear to the employees. You have to make sure that that comes up where you can probably administer a pilot questionnaire or try out the questions with somebody else and then see the answers they're giving if what is to your expectation. That's how you go about, and then you get that feel before you actually get into the actual process of analysis, job analysis. So now, make the job analysis. Okay, sorry, we looked at that already. So now, the information collected through a job analysis is used to help manage all aspects of an effective human resource program, which we mentioned actually: recruitment, selection, legal compliance, performance appraisals, compensation, and training. So elements of the job analysis process include how the information will be used, background information, selecting representative positions for analysis, and then verifying the data, and then writing the job description. This is the specification as well. So since the information collected will be sensitive to the employee, it's a good idea to make it a joint effort. Clarify the questions and process, and then use a variety of job analysis tools. So we looked at this. Let's go. So let's break for 2 minutes, just for me to catch my breath and then come back again. I'll just pause the video for a bit. So when we get back, we look at the use of at least 3 methods of collecting data analysis information, including questionnaires, interviews, and observation. So we look at this and then we come and continue aggressively and then try to see how we can finish this. So I'll be back just shortly. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. So let's quickly run through so that we finish with this and we actually move to something else. We'll move to the other slide, sorry. So use at least 3 methods of collecting data analysis information, including interviews, questionnaires, and observation. So the interview, use typical questions, structured questions, the pros and cons, and then interviewing guidelines. So here we go. So managers may conduct the interviews, the individual interviews with each employee. We say 3 people are involved: the human resource manager, the human resource personnel, the waiter, and then also the supervisor field. So the managers will conduct the individual interviews with each employee. Group interviews with what's this with groups of employees. This can be like in a way, maybe a focus kind of arrangement, focus group interview arrangement, or the supervisor interviews with one or more supervisors who know the job. So typical interview questions include the following: what is the job being performed? And then what are the education, experience, skill, and certification and licensing requirements? What are the job's physical demands, the emotional, mental demands, and many others? Many managers use the structured format to guide the interview to ensure consistency and the certain key elements are not overlooked. So there's a certain format that other managers can use to attend this, to conduct these interviews. So the interviews wide use reflects its advantages. It's a simple and quick way to collect information, including information that might not appear on a written form. The destruction of information is the main problem, whether due to outright falsification or honest misunderstanding. The basic interviewing guidelines include quickly establish rapport with the person that you're interviewing. Use a structured guide, meaning you should not just go and ask random questions because that would disrupt the whole purpose of the interview. You have to know what key points, which key areas you're looking at. Ask the waiter to list his or her duties in order of importance and frequency of occurrence. Review the information with the waiter's immediate supervisor and with the interviewee. This is to avoid falsification, like you mentioned, and then also ensure that you're actually moving in the same line of the structured interview questions that you have put forth. Then we have collecting the key methods of collecting useful job analysis data include structured and unstructured interviews, both of which have advantages and disadvantages. So questionnaires may also be structured or unstructured depending on the situation or job under review. Observation, on the other hand, while extremely useful, is very time consuming in that one interview will be needed to observe the worker for extended periods of time. In addition, the observer may miss some key job activities if they're not performed regularly. Because, for example, like those job descriptions that actually occur very rarely. Like, let me give an example. Like, if a person, like maybe in the human resource arena, if you're supposed to probably maybe appraise performance appraisal reviews and the likes, those are usually on a periodically, yearly basis. So if you have a person that is observing, trying to get information through observation, or maybe you look at the more on-touch with the human resource and looking into the welfare of the employees, where this person has to be involved, maybe he has to attend funerals, maybe he has to go and see somebody who's unwell and the likes and see what they're supposed to do when they're there. You find that during that period, maybe no employee has been lost. So how do you get to see what and how they're supposed to actually perform and represent their organization in that capacity? Diaries and logs require the worker to make entries into his or her journal at regular times. And then quantitative techniques include position analysis questionnaire and the department of labor technique. Then internet-based analysis allows the human resource department to send questionnaires to geographically dispersed employees and receive information in a timely manner. This procedure also allows electronic or voice follow-up. So basically, the internet has made things more efficient, more easy, and then also less time consuming. So you find there might be a date set for one to say, okay, a minute to say you should submit this questionnaire and fill it in before this deadline, and then that helps in terms of efficiency and then effectiveness in terms of trying to get through the data analysis process. Then write the job description, including summaries, job function, and then using the internet and traditional methods. Okay, we're almost done. The most important product of job analysis is the job description. A job description is a written statement of what the worker actually does, how does or she does it, and what the job's working conditions are. Okay, so let's look at the writing. Okay, let's emphasize certain things. So this is a job description. The most important outcome of the job analysis is the job description. So this job description actually brings out what the worker does and how he does it. So it's like the actual duties and how they are performed. If, say, you're an accountant, how are you going to actually give accounting service to the organization that you're working for? What probably means, what tools do you need to execute that? What actual information do you need to actually work with? So let's look at the writing of the job description. There's the job identification aspects, there's the job summary, relationships, responsibilities and duties, authority, performance standards and working conditions, job specification. So the job description is one of the main outcomes of conducting a job analysis. So that should be borne in mind actually. The job identification section contains several types of information. Okay. So there may be a relationship statement which shows that the job holder's relationship with others inside and outside the organization. This aspect actually also comes up on the appraisal aspect, because how a person relates with others is really cardinal in terms of how they can be a leader and how they can actually get the work done. And then responsibilities and duties are the heart of the job description. So there's the responsibility aspect and the duties, how they're executed. So this is part of the key elements that are found in the job description. This section should present a list of jobs significantly presented and responsibilities, sorry, and section should present a list of jobs, significant responsibilities and duties. This section may also define the limits of a job holder's authority. Like I mentioned, to say, okay, if a nurse is actually specified to do certain activities, certain duties in her execution of her nursing duties, she's supposed to actually work within that confines. You find that even a person that is probably supposed to issue out instructions to the fellow officers is to the fellow nurses and to the fellow workers and the employees is actually tabulated. Not everybody can issue orders. It doesn't work like that. People are supposed to work within the confines of their jurisdiction, within the confines of their job description. Because failure to do that may bring out a lot of misunderstandings and also tensions within the work environment and also within the workers themselves. So a standard of performance sections, the standards of the company expects the employee to achieve, and each of the job descriptions may others. Okay, so working conditions include the location, the tools, environment, that sort of thing. Working conditions like, okay, what really does a particular job specification, work environment ought to be. Like if you're a field worker, you work in the field. There's certain conditions that come with that. And also maybe if you're an office bearer, what space, what people are you supposed to work around? Are you supposed to occupy a space in on? Are you supposed to share an office space? What is the situation in that area? So more employees are turning to the internet for their job descriptions. The process is simple. So you search, okay. So writing a job specifications, right? Trained versus untrained. So the different types of jobs depending on the person. There's also judgment, statistical analysis, tasks, and we put tasks in statements, task statements. Okay, so we're almost done. So writing job specifications for trained workers is relatively straightforward. So these specifications might focus mostly on the traits, like length of previous service, quality of relevant training, previous job performance. The problems are more complex when you're filling jobs with untrained people, where you must specify the qualities such as physical traits, personality interests, and or sensory skills that imply some potential performing or being trained to do the job. When writing specifications based on judgment, one basic question must be answered. The question is, what does it take in terms of education, intelligence, training, and the like to do this job well? Based on the specification on statistical analysis is a more defensible approach, but it's also more difficult. The aim here is to determine statistically the relationship between the predictor and the indicator, the predictor, sorry, and the indicator criteria. Okay. So basically, a job is traditionally a set of closely related activities carried out for pay. But the concept of a job is changing. These changes include management practices such as organizing around work teams, and which creates different challenges. Okay, so a job is a traditionally set of closely related activities carried out for pay. But the concept is slowly changing. Okay, this concludes this lecture, and thank you very much. And I hope you picked up a few points, and if you have any questions, you can get back to me. Thank you very much, and have a lovely